This episode of Noids of the Broke Boys is brought to you by the Shadow Realm. Are you and your spouse looking for a great place to honeymoon? Or do you have excess money to spend on affordable prime real estate? Well, then you may want to consider visiting the Shadow Realm. This amazing banishment destination was first made famous by the popular children's card game player Yu-Gi-Oh! Since his rise to fame, many have found themselves retiring to the Shadow Realm. Is the phrase, "I want to speak with your manager," part of your everyday vocabulary? Try speaking with the manager of the Shadow Realm. Is your favorite place to stand in the middle of a busy walkway? Try standing in the glorious streets of the Shadow Realm. Are you an elderly dancer still hanging out with teenagers? Go hang out in the Shadow Realm. Do you comment on YouTube videos? Shadow Realm. Still playing Yu-Gi-Oh cards in 2020? Shadow Realm. Dial 1-800-SHADOW-R to speak with a Shadow Realm representative the next 24 hours and receive a free 2-day banishment. And now, on to the show. In this episode, I sit with a great friend of mine, Moon Lee. This guy is like a brother to me. We built our crew second nature together and have grown our love for hip-hop as a family. He is a locker originally from Korea that made his way to America to eventually make a career as a dancer. I have learned a ton from this guy and have a huge respect for his work ethic. I hope you can gain as much from his story as I did. Please enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the ghettoest show ever. We are today on site in an attic, looking kind of questionable, right? We don't have a studio because we don't have a budget. Our budget was $5, and unfortunately, we spent it all on Moon's haircut. And so, without further ado, today I have my good friend, Mr. Moon Lee. K number 1. What else did you go by?
I just go by my name now.
Yeah,
Moon.
no, I think that's a good decision. So what's up, man? How you been?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, dude. I've been, working hard trying to make some stuff happen with the show and with my life and whatever. And so, I know because you and I don't live in the same area anymore. We don't get to talk as much.
I know.
So it's good to have you here, and so we can like catch up and stuff.
Yeah, it's good catching up.
Yeah. So what I want to talk to you about today is like how you got into hip hop, because you are originally from Korea, and then you moved out here to America basically to be a dancer and get more involved in the hip hop scene, right? And I guess I want to hear your story behind that and how you ended up where you are today.
Mm-hmm. So actually, I came to America 2007, and when I first came here, I only came here as a just exchange student.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna just study. I was gonna just learn English here, and the goal was just to learn English. And nothing about dance, nothing about hip hop, or nothing about what I do now. Because in Korea, back in the day, when I first started dancing and stuff, people didn't really take this as career. We didn't have much of jobs relate to like hip hop or dance, anything. Korean b-boys were very popular back then. Still do, but still it wasn't like their main job. They had to work somewhere else and pursue as a b-boy. So it wasn't in my head that I could take this as my career.
So was locking not popular in Korea?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not popular. How I got into it was it was type of kind of PE class, like you'll say here, because education is very important in Asian countries in general.
Yeah.
We stay in school like almost like 13-14 hours a day. So, and they will put these PE classes like 1 or 2 hours a week, not even a day, like a week. And I had to choose in different activities, and I chose to learn dance. So it wasn't even like locking. It was just like dance in general. And when I first started taking those classes, I got to know about popping and locking mainly. So like I wouldn't even say I knew about hip hop. I was more like funk styles. So I was listening to funk musics. I didn't really listen to rap music until like I came here.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I was very interested in like funk music.
Yeah, so
like-
you were introduced to funk music from the dancing classes that you took? Or?
Yes,
Okay.
because they'll play those musics to learn those foundations, like
Okay,
locking
and
foundations and popping foundations.
And was it a lot of like American funk, or was it?
Yeah. Because
Korean
we do not have funk music in
Okay.
Korea.
I think there's Korean funk now, though, right?
Yeah, like now, I mean, like even back then there was similarities, but it wasn't for dance.
Yeah, I guess it's blown up a lot more since you moved.
Yes,
Right, yeah,
yes,
okay.
yes. So that's how I got into it. So it was just in a way of hobby, like kind of way of let the stress out.
Yeah,
All those studying and staying in school for how many hours.
Studying in Korea sounds really crazy.
Yeah,
from what I hear.
it's pretty intense. My high school, we started 7 a.m. and we end like around 11 p.m. So
Dang, what the heck?
so like it's pretty intense.
You don't do anything except go to school then.
Pretty much. But because it's so competitive, like some students would go to like other places, even study more.
What the heck?
So because it's really hard to get into universities and colleges in Korea. So that's just how it is. Now I know that's pretty crazy thing because I know how Americans are. But you know, we only know what we have. So I had no idea that was pretty crazy thing.
Yeah, that sounds crazy to me. I mean, dang, because typical school for an American kid, well, high school kid, I guess we would start 7:30 or something, and then it'd go to like maybe 3:30 or something like that, 3 o'clock. You'd usually have what 6 classes, and they were all hour long, and then whatever break between them and whatever.
We have like 7, 8 classes too. Like classes are pretty similar, but we just have to stay there to study your own.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, so like they force you to study your own. So
Oh man, I would go home in high school. I would just go home. Well, I was doing martial arts back then, so I would go straight to the studio, take some classes or whatever, or train, and then I would go home and do my homework as I watch TV. And I mean, like I half-assed all my homework, honestly, but I got good grades actually.
Yeah,
but
that lifestyle ends for us around like 11, 12.
oh really? Dang.
Like that's it.
That's
And
crazy.
after that you have to study. But back into the topic. So for me, because I was getting a lot of stress, like lifestyle, Korean educational lifestyle. So dance really came to me as like outlet of releasing my stress. So whether I knew it or not, it was becoming in a way, my love, because it was so stressful, and that was the only thing that I liked. Those 1 hour, 2 hours of a week was very special to me. So I just fell in love with that whole culture. I didn't know what hip hop was at all. All I knew was just funk styles, funk cultures. So like my favorite artists were like definitely James Brown, BT Express, like those old school funk bands. Gap Band, whatnot. So, and I thought America would love funk still too.
Yeah.
So when I first came here,
20 years, 30 years before that.
yeah, like I had no idea it was like back in the day stuff. Like I thought people will still love funk music. People will still do the line dances. Like those were my expectations.
Yeah. I mean, people still do it, but it's not as like
But not
prominent.
our ages,
Yeah, people
like,
are out there doing the whatever this shit is.
Yeah.
The freaking floss dance and stuff.
So that's how I got into, in a way, of hip hop. But I wouldn't still say hip hop because I was kind of against to 2007 modern hip hops. So like I wouldn't listen Lil Wayne. I wouldn't listen to Jay-Z. Like I wouldn't listen to them. Like,
yeah.
To me, like James Brown is my
Is your
god.
real thing.
Like,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I was actually the same way. I was really into funk music too, and a lot of the hip hop I would listen to, I was like, oh, it's cool. Like I like it, but there's something magical to the funk styles that actually influenced these hip hop artists. I mean, obviously hip hop has its own magic behind it too, but it was just like, I guess, I mean, what drew me into hip hop was that you were like making your own thing out of this pre-existing stuff and you would get your inspiration from it. And so I got deep into like funk music, soul music and stuff, and jazz music. And so I was really into that. And then a lot of the new hip hop artists, I was like, I don't even know who they are. And so I didn't start listening to them till a little bit later. I mean, I would listen to them occasionally, like Jay-Z and Nas and Tupac and people like that. I used to be really big into Dell back then. But yeah, I mean, that definitely came after the funk and soul kick that I was on. Yeah, and that was around like high school. But going back to like what you're talking before, you said that dance was like a stress relief kind of thing for you. What do you think? Why do you think that is? Like, what about it relieved the stress to you?
I think first because I didn't have much of activities, like physical activities. So that's definitely like main reason why it kind of like gave me a lot of freedom and like release. It's like I'll be sitting down like hours of day, and that typical hour I cannot even sit, like I have to let it out, and I have to like listen to music, and I have to physically move, So like that was definitely reason why, I think.
Was that like the only time you got to actually listen to music?
No, I will listen to Korean music, like now K-pop is popular, whatnot, but I was listening to, like when you study your own, like you kind of play like the music in your background. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I would listen to music, but physically doing something with my body with the music. Yeah. That was different.
Yeah, definitely. It's different. Okay. So yeah, it was, I guess it was the physical activity mixed with this music, this hypnotic kind of like music that helped relieve your stress. And so do you think that like inspired your creativity too, and that had something to do with it?
At the moment, I did not know. Yeah. But later, now I think about it, yes. I think it did. And then it kind of like enhanced my like creativity, like my art form and whatnot. So like it helped me a lot.
Yeah, I have like a theory that that music and I guess kind of repetitive type sounds, it triggers something in our brains to make us like turn off the thinking part of your brain and turn on the more like instinctual part of your brain, which is to make you move usually, like in instance of like you hear a big sound and you go, and you run. I think that somehow repetitive music clicks on that part of your brain, but instead of you running and being scared or whatever, it's like going, oh no, this isn't a fearful time. This is a time to be creative. And so I think in the same way that your instinct tells you to run, it's now your instinct is telling you, okay, we're not in danger anymore. We can do some cool things with our mind and our body to hopefully like instill our survival or whatever, I'm not some kind of scientist that knows anything about this, but that's just my theory, because it seems like that happens to everybody. Whenever they are like painting or whatever, writing, a lot of people will put on music, and it just gets them into this new world where they can like shut off a little part of their brain and turn on a new part of their brain.
Yeah.
I guess shut off, what is it, the right side of your brain and turn on the left side. So it's your analytical side to your artistic side. So yeah, I think somehow that is involved with dancing and why we're drawn to it. And it's like somewhat of a human instinct to want to do it. Yeah. You see little kids dancing around, doing that. I don't know. Does your kid actually do that?
Yeah, she actually dances. She loves music. Like it's in her blood. It's in her blood. My brother-in-law is music producer.
Oh yeah.
So like
that's right.
Yeah, we like.
Shout out to Rudy.
Shout out to Ru. Are you?
Yeah.
We try to feed her like good musics.
Yeah.
And like different dance moves. Try to like show her different dance moves, and it's kind of amazing how this young toddlers, they just move freely.
Yeah.
It's like amazing to see.
To me, that's hip hop. When I see that, because it's like before hip hop was even deemed hip hop, right? Before it ever had a name. What was it? It was people at like a dance party just having fun. Yeah. And then a DJ was like, ooh, I like this part of the song. Or like, it looks like all the people on the dance floor like this song. Let me play that part of the song again. And that's what a break was. And then all these people are just dancing. And then all of a sudden they just lose their mind and jump on the floor. And that was breaking.
Yep.
And so when I see a little kid do the same thing, when, I don't know, some song, Old Town Road or whatever's on on the radio, and the little kid starts dancing and rolling around on the ground. I'm like, dude, that is breaking right there. That's hip hop. That's like, we built up the whole culture of breaking and hip hop dance styles from that exact emotion, So I like seeing that. And it seems to me like it's the best argument that hip hop is like a very deep instinctual thing for
human beings.
So the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is, so like once you came to America, like how did it feel coming to America and like integrating into our culture, and like what was the differences between here and Korea? I know you talked about school and stuff, but what else? Like, because it seems like it'd be a huge culture shock.
It was definitely huge culture shock, and I actually, the first city I came here was Auburn, in like like, so
Auburn,
it was,
which is kind of country town,
mountains,
like near,
and like so,
north of Sac or so.
It's like it's in the mountain, and I was like literally only like few Asians in that whole town.
Oh yeah,
people will freak out seeing me back then. Like it's probably not, because I saw the sushi restaurant in there. I was like, whoa, like people eat Asian food in here.
Yeah.
So like it's changed, but back then it was pretty intense. Like people, like I wouldn't understand why people stare at me like that, and like I didn't know it was kind of like, I wouldn't say racism, because I'll say just because I was different.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was racist. I think it's probably that,
because I was different.
Yeah, you might have been wearing your crazy genie pants or something. And they're what is this guy wearing?
What is this guy wearing? Like they probably thought like I was some type of clown. Like my haircuts, my fashion. Yeah. Like how, like definitely I didn't speak a word in English.
Oh, that might be it too. Yeah.
So people just
But yeah, I mean, people in Auburn, a lot of them are kind of like more country type of people, more rural. They, because it's a smaller town northeast of Sacramento, and people out there, I guess, have kind of a slower lifestyle. It's not like a city lifestyle where you're running around all the time. It's like, they'll have their big house somewhere, and then they'll go to work and stuff. But it's usually in the same town. There's a lot of farms out there.
Horses. Hey, horses. Much love to my town, though. That's my
Auburn
town.
Is a great place.
That is my town. Much love to my town.
I love Auburn, actually. But yeah, it's to see, someone who looks like a K-pop star walking around. They're kind of like, what's going on, man?
What's going on?
Like, where's his horse? Where's his where's his truck?
So yeah, but definitely I learned how to enjoy like small things in life. Like watching sunrise and sunset. I never knew there was like such a beautiful thing. I never knew that until I got there. And like enjoying just landscaping, just little things in life.
Is there not a lot of like nature type of areas in Korea?
We do,
okay.
But I'm from like very busy city, Seoul.
Yeah, Seoul, okay.
So like our population is like crazy.
Yeah,
as crazy as
it's like
New
the biggest
York.
city in Korea,
the population.
Right?
Yeah, population is so crazy, and lifestyle is just so busy.
Yeah,
like
I guess if that's all you've ever seen coming here, where there's a lot more space. Sacramento is kind of spread out, and definitely when you go to Auburn, it's even more spread out.
Yeah,
it's very. It's not like a city at all. I mean, there's no buildings that are more than 2 or 3 stories out there.
Yep, that's what I loved about though. Like I could really see the sky.
Yeah.
I could really hear the bird sounds. Like those things kind of like opened my eyes in a way. Those are the kind of good parts.
Yeah.
And bad parts were like, just people not accepting me as what I was, So I actually came up with my English name because of that. Because
Charlie.
I had, Charlie. I used to call myself Charlie because I had trauma. Like if I say my name, people will just instantly react kind of like, whoa.
What is that?
What is that? Like
what is the Korean pronunciation of your name? Like Moonheng?
Moonheng. Now my full name is Moonheng Lee. But Hang, like a lot of people can't pronounce. So like I got tired of explaining. So I just, you know what? I'm gonna just go Moon.
Didn't you tell me that that Lee is pronounced something different in Korea?
It's actually E.
E, right?
Yeah,
okay.
we go by E, and then we put last name first. So like my name's E Moonheng, but then here it changed to Lee. I don't know how, like I don't know why, but you have to change it to Lee. And here I'm Moon Lee.
That's kind of weird. So when you go to Korea, it's like you have a new identity or a new name.
Like names, names are completely different. So those little things.
What would my name be in Korea?
Horyuchi, Kurt.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Horyuchi because it's a Japanese name. They're probably used to that.
Yeah.
Kurt. I would imagine they would have trouble pronouncing that because I know in Japanese they have a lot of trouble pronouncing that.
Now, like Korea, like we're very culturally open to especially American culture.
Yeah.
So Kurt wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Kurt wouldn't be a problem at all.
Like a Japanese people call me Kato, because the is like kind of a weird sound. For them, and it doesn't really exist in their language. So, so when you came to America, you're in Auburn, and then you were dancing still, right? Or were you just working at the sushi restaurant and you met Surf Boogie.
Surf Boogie, yes.
Shout out to Surf Boogie.
Shout out to Surf Boogie. So I wasn't like really dancing at first. I was just going to school, but because of language barrier and because of like lack of human interaction, I kind of got into depression because, you know, like you wouldn't talk, like I wasn't able to talk to human in general.
It's like, yeah, no, I can imagine that. It's like, it's, I mean, it's kind of like how when my dog is like looking at me and she tries to like tell me something and I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're trying to tell me. And, like, I imagine the dog probably feels like crap.
That's the exact reaction I'll get from people, you know? So, and I didn't want to hang out with my people, like Koreans. Like I did not want to speak Koreans in America. So I was very strict on that because I wanted to learn English and I wanted to adapt this culture as fully as possible. So I kind of put myself in the situation. So I had to do something about it to get out of that depression. That's when I, you know, started dancing again on my own.
So when was that about?
That was about like 2007.
So the gap between starting and stopping, or stopping in Korea and then starting back in America, how long was that?
Like I kind of stopped dancing because of like SAT back in Korea.
Yeah.
So I had to really focus on like studying.
Okay.
So I stopped about an year and a half. I stopped and came to America. So I'll say 2 years. About 2 years I stopped and I was like, I have to do something. And yeah, I started dancing again on my own. And I was a bosser because they wouldn't accept me as a server because my English wasn't good enough. So I was bussing at this sushi restaurant. Not in Auburn. Auburn did not have a sushi restaurant back then.
Yeah, they probably have one now, but I don't.
They do have Asian food there.
Yeah.
So I had to like drive all the way to Rockland, and I used to work at this sushi restaurant, and they kind of knew I was dancing this and that, like in a way. And this customer came in, and I guess someone told him that I was dancer, and he was like, you know what? I'll battle you for your tip. Like that, right? It's hella rude.
That's really mean.
That's a hella rude, right? Like, that's a hella rude. But to me, it was like, oh my God, this is like real America that I know.
Oh, damn.
You know, like I watched like You Got Served or like all those hip hop.
Beat Street, and you're like, oh, this is real now.
I was like, oh, this is America.
Did you go and like put on your vest and your glove? And
no, because I had to get back to work later. So I told him like, hey, my break is in like an hour. So like, wait. Right?
Yeah,
so I was like, and then we went out there and then he played the music through his car.
Yeah.
And we just started battling.
And this was Surf Boogie, right?
This was Surf Boogie, the white man, the tall white man.
Shout out to Surf Boogie for being an asshole, but then being a really great guy.
So after like, you know, like I think we danced about like 20, 30 minutes straight. And then there was like one of craziest experience in my life at the same time. Like I never felt that happy in my life. Like I still remember how I felt.
Yeah.
Because I could not sleep that night because I was so happy about it.
Dang.
So
that's tight.
After the battle, he was like, "Oh my God, you're so dope." Obviously, I did not understand what he was saying. He said, now I know, but he was saying that like how good I was. And then he invited me to this public performance with his crew.
Yeah.
And it was Flexible Flav.
Yeah, which was my crew.
Which was your crew, and which became my crew later.
Yeah.
But there was a performance for Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah,
I still remember that.
Was I there?
No, you weren't there. Convention Center, and Flexible Flav had a junior crew. I forgot their names.
It was Legendary Steps.
Legendary Steps.
Yeah, because me and my brother started that. Me, my brother, and a bunch of other people, we started that crew. Yeah. And then eventually we went to Flexible Flav, and then And then, yeah, that crew continued on. I think by the time you came, there was like a bunch of other people. Like, I think we kind of revamped it, and there was a lot of people.
Yeah. So like a young, like junior crew. It was mainly Legendary Steps, not the Flexible Flav, but they put the Flexible Flav name.
I think, did Vince, did he put together that show?
Yes.
Okay.
That's where I met Vince.
Yeah. Okay.
So I met Vince.
And I wasn't there.
You weren't there.
Huh.
You were not there.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to UC Davis at the time, so I probably was like, I'm too busy doing other shit.
So I met Vince there, and then I performed with the crew, the Flexible Flav, and Vince was like so interested in me. Mm-hmm. Vince was very interested in me, and then he was like, "Why don't you come to our practice?"
Yeah, yeah.
And that's how I like first started making friends.
Mm-hmm.
I still couldn't speak English.
Yeah.
But like I knew that he liked my dancing.
Yeah.
And people liked my dancing. So that's how I started.
No, I remember when you would come to practices, you would just be like killing it, like doing all your locking stuff. And like I don't know much about locking at the time. And so I would see you and I was like, oh dang, this guy is going off. And I think I would walk up to you and be like, dude, you're really tight. And you'd be like,
yeah.
on your, I don't know, whatever you say in Korea, I don't know. But I'd be like, and then I think eventually you understood like what I was saying or whatever. I mean, I don't know how, somehow we communicated a little bit. I mean, it's probably just the language of dance. Like,
yeah,
when you go,
definitely.
oh, you're dope, and you're like, I don't know what dope means, but then I go, and I shake your hand, you're like, oh, he probably means that I'm dope.
Yeah, it's very that's pretty interesting about human like interaction.
Yeah,
like you do not really need language to communicate with people. That's one thing I really learned through those moments.
Yeah, when you see someone go like, oh, during your like round. That probably means that you're dope.
you definitely understand who's respecting you, and you definitely understand who's disrespecting you without understanding language. You know, so and because of dance, and I'll say hip hop in general because we had very common interest.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's how I fell in love with hip hop a lot. Okay. Because hip hop, because of hip hop, I could make my first friend in America. Mm. Because of hip hop, I did not need language to interact with humans. Mm. So that was very, like literally, like Americans say hip hop saved me.
Yeah,
It literally did that to me, Like I wasn't in the ghetto, but I wasn't in like, all that Bronx and all that. But it literally saved me from getting depressed.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I mean, I feel like a lot of people would have that same or they have a similar story where hip hop really did save their life, whether they were actually in real danger or they were just in a dark place. Hip hop does have this like thing that it kind of just envelops your whole life, and you're like, it's hard to be in a bad mood while you are participating in it, while you're dancing, while you're like DJing or whatever. Like you're making art with whatever things you're trying to make art with. It's hard to be mad at that or during that. So I could see how that would pull you out of a bad place.
Yeah. And after that, we made our own crew, Second Nature. Mm-hmm. And that's how everything started for me.
Yeah. And so then once we made Second Nature, we were like, our mission was to like make really cool shows, just kind of pull in talents from all sorts of different places. 'Cause a lot of us all had different styles, right?
Yes.
And that was like the big thing that we wanted to make sure that we always did. 'Cause we, although we liked a lot of those groups that had kind of this one unit style, like Jabberwocky, shout out to them. They have this style where like it's Jabberwockies.
Mhm.
They all like dance, and it's hard to tell because they'll wear their mask, and it's like hard to tell who's who because they're so in sync. But for us, we were like, let's try to pull in all these different styles and try to figure out how they blend together and make these interesting shows. And so I think it was really fun to do that, and I really miss doing that actually.
Me too. I think we actually had that talk when you visit Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely had something going on with that, like open-minded people get together and try to be artistic.
Yeah. I think what was cool about it was that the vision we had, I guess the vision there wasn't necessarily like set in stone. It was kind of like you'd have an idea and you'd put it on the table, and then I would have an idea and I'd put it on the table, and then Vince would have an idea, put it on the table, and then somehow all of our brains just kind of click together, and then we just start combining these ideas together and make something out of all of it. And and then that's what we would just ride with that. And then as we go, more people would throw in their input and stuff, and we would just take it off. And we never, I don't think we were good about kind of just saying, let's just see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. We were really good at that. Yeah.
Just cause like sometimes someone would have some wild ass idea. Just
you.
I would have a lot of wild ass ideas. Cause I tend to just say like, I might as well just say it and, basically throw the shit at the wall, and hopefully, I'm fine with throwing as much stuff as I have at a wall, and if it all falls down, it's okay. But if some of it is good, that's fine. And so I like to do that. And so when I would throw it out there, sometimes people would go like, oh, I wonder what would happen if we actually did that. It would go somewhere sometimes. So I think everybody was really good about doing that.
Yeah.
Just throwing out their wild ass ideas.
And we were just all open-minded, we had respect. I think that's what got us really together.
Yeah.
Respect to each other.
I think everybody in the group was very knowledgeable about their specific style of dance, and everyone had a very creative, they came from a very creative place. And so, everyone was open to these ideas, and so we all would just kind of roll with it. See what happens, man. So anyway, so like with Second Nature, eventually, right, you moved to Vegas, right, to do Jabberwocky show, right? And so you did that for like a year or so?
Yeah. So at first, because I was only like locking dancer, I didn't know any other style. I knew poppin' a little bit.
Yeah.
Locking. And it wasn't really my my craft to audition for those things.
Yeah.
But this one summer, I think it was summer, Vince had these tickets to Bboy convention in Las Vegas.
It was UBC, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's who is it? Mr. Freeze, I think that's his name.
And Diane Kitamaru. I don't remember her name, but she got us tickets, and Vince was like, "You want to go to Vegas?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Sure," And it was actually close to my end of my time being in America, so like I just wanted to experience different things. So we went.
That was because your green card was running out.
Yeah,
right?
because of my visa was running out.
Yeah.
And so I said yes, and then we drove down to LA, and then we auditioned different things. That was my first audition in like America, in like industry auditions, and I experienced different things there. And then we went to Vegas, and Jabberwockies performed at UBC. And Vince was driving around Vegas, and I was like, I told Vince, Vince still remembers this moment too. I told Vince that, hey, I think this is what I want to do. Like dance. I think dance is what I want to do. And I don't know how, but I really want to perform here. Vince remembers that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I told him that, and year later, there was audition for Jabberwockies because they were getting their first resident show as a hip hop crew in Las Vegas.
Yeah, this was like maybe 2 years after they won that
ABDC
show. Yeah, America's Best Dance Crew. Yeah, there's the first season, I think.
Yeah, they were the first winner.
They were the first winner, and so they were making a lot of moves. I mean, they had newly found popularity among like crowds outside of
dance community.
The dance community, and so they were setting up a lot of stuff, and then getting a resident show in Vegas, right? And then you were one of the people that auditioned for that show.
So I auditioned for experience, and luckily I got picked, and then I got picked to play a main role. Okay. So I got to play their main role in Las Vegas, and that kind of put me as a first Korean to play main role in Las Vegas. And that's kind of how I started my career, I think. So after playing main role in their show, they trusted me enough to give me authority to run the whole theater, because that moment we were getting offered in Australia and East Coast as well. So we had to prepare for 3 different shows with 3 different casts.
Yeah.
So they trust me to run. So they pretty much gave me the theater. Monte Carlo, back then Monte Carlo Theater. Now that it's a Park MGM. We had about 1,500 seats. We were performing about 7 shows a week. And we did that about a year. Yeah, we did that about a year. And that just opened my eyes. Yeah. That just opened my eyes to it. And they moved to Luxor. And that's when I kind of like not stop dancing. I was still dancing, but I was doing the more business side of them. So I was in the management side of the company, and that's when I learned a lot about business, because millions of dollars are just moving in front of my face, and that's where I learned.
Was any of that flowing into your pocket? Were you like, millions of dollars? They're not gonna miss this 1 million.
No, not at all. It's just I was on salary.
No, it was, you were seeing the huge success of the Jabberwocky show, like blowing up, because at around that time it was like the Jabberwockies had so much fame. Little kids were dressing up as them for like Halloween and stuff. I mean, it was like a cultural phenomenon at that time, and so they had this show that was just blowing up. And so it went from like a crew of people that were, basically dancing at a studio in Sacramento and various other places in California, to like this show that was, how many shows a night? Like
right now, I believe they're doing 10 shows a night. They're at MGM right now.
And they were filling out their crowds. So there's tons of money coming in.
Yes.
So it was like a huge, probably like business shock to them.
Yes.
Going like, oh, dang. We can pull in money like that.
Yeah,
That's kind of
I
crazy.
literally saw, because they had a like 3 days deal. It was it was supposed to be 3 days performing, but it became 10 years contract with MGM. Yeah. So I saw that whole progress in front of my face.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, and like they gave me opportunity to learn, and trusted me to run it for them. So big shout out to Jabberwockies.
Yeah, shout out to Jabberwockies. I would put a mask on right now, but I don't have I don't have a mask. So let me get a mask. Do you have a mask?
Yeah, I do. I still do have a mask. I still have mask that I wore in the show.
Do you ever just put it on like at home and just like look at yourself and go like, man, you're a handsome fellow. Take it off. And like, oh God, what did I do?
But yeah, Jabberwockies opened my eyes, changed my career, and taught me a lot of things. They're still my mentors. They're still my mentors whenever I struggle with this, like I go to them and talk to them, and whatever I can do for them, I'll gladly do.
Yeah. And they're still doing their shows out there and
stuff.
Yeah,
they're still doing amazing. They just finished the tour in China, Japan. They're preparing new show at MGM. They're just
working
very hard. Yeah.
So after Jabbo, you went to do the Cirque show, which is Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And so what was that like? Because that was like a brand new thing, just like that Cirque was trying to put on in Vegas, and so you were like the first group of people to like come to do that show, right?
They had actually creation members.
Okay.
So I was kind of like, I was one of first people to join the crew other than creation member.
Okay.
So they created show in Montreal, Canada.
Oh. Okay.
And then they did like a year before I joined.
Okay.
And then they,
and then they
fired some
moved
people
it to Vegas,
changed some cast, and then that's when I joined.
And brought you in, and then evolved the show to what it is now.
Yes.
Yeah, and you helped with the evolution process, right?
In a way, but I wouldn't take too much credit for Cirque du Soleil because a lot of things were created before I joined, and because it's a big corporation, there's not a lot of room for me to change things.
Oh, I see.
Because there's a lot of contracts and rules, and that's one thing about working at Jabberwockies and working at Cirque.
Yeah, it's a difference.
It's a big difference because Jabberwockies, I really took the ownership, and I could.
Yeah, I guess because the way I look at it is like Cirque. A lot of that comes from like circus, like, right? It comes from an actual circus, like established. I don't know how to call it, but whereas Jabba was like, it came straight from like a dancer hip hop community, and so you had these people that were already, they're very creative and they like to collaborate with each other to make something. Whereas like I feel like the circus mentality was more like they do the creation and then they have the performance and then they pull in all the talent and they go, okay, here's what it is, right?
Okay. So Cirque du Soleil has very strict rules, and like still nowadays our show and Beatles Love, there's a show called Beatles Love by Cirque du Soleil. Those are the two main shows that has dance is their like main thing. So using dancers are still very new to Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, so they don't really have that dancer culture in them yet.
So they're still trying to build that culture in it. Especially with our show, a lot of hip hop dancers are in it. Yeah. So that's where like they're still trying to figure things out. Yeah. It feels like it.
Yeah, that's tight.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of new culture, a lot of new things for them too. And yeah, I'm just part of it.
And what do you think about how they've embraced hip hop? Do you think they're doing it in a good way, or like it? Do you think it's good for the culture the way they're embracing it, or do you wish that they maybe like did something a little bit different, or like what do you think in I guess from the standpoint of like the best thing for the hip hop culture?
I don't think, not yet, they influence that much in hip hop culture.
Okay.
Because Cirque is just trying to take something and change into their culture, because Cirque du Soleil
yeah.
itself is a big culture, you know, like clowns.
I mean,
and
it's a
characters.
circus, and then they're saying, I want to pull in this dance element into what we already do.
Exactly.
Whereas Jabba is dance.
Jabba is hip hop itself.
And
yeah,
and they're pulling in, you know, whatever into that show, but it's dance.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Okay.
So I think I know, I don't know if I can talk about it right now.
Oh yeah, we don't have to talk about it if there's some kind of NDA or whatever you got.
But I don't work for Cirque du Soleil forever, so I might just say it. I know they're working on making hip hop show.
Okay.
The Cirque du Soleil is.
That's tight. Yeah, no.
But I don't know how that's gonna turn out, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the way that I look at it is like they have a big platform and a lot of eyes on it that probably don't know anything about hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I look at it and I go, okay, well, they're introducing people into hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good thing. And I think maybe there's ways they could maybe do it better. I'm not speaking about Cirque specifically, but I know that there's good ways to do that and maybe like less good ways. But I think overall it's good that hip hop is being introduced to people.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say it's bad in any way, but so I think it's at least a step in the right direction to have a hip hop show. Because like, you know, if someone who had no idea what hip hop is goes in to see the show and they go, oh, what is that? They wouldn't have had that initial interest if they hadn't experienced that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hoping that, you know, say like, you know, 50% of the people that walk into the show go, oh, wow, what is that? And then 10% of that go to look up actually what it is, or maybe even go take a hip hop class.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start learning more about it. That's like getting, you know, 5% of the people that were introduced, you know, into the real kind of hip hop scene. So I think it's a good thing. And then the 50% of people that saw it and then didn't necessarily look into it or take a class, they're at least familiar with it. So when they see it again in their life, they're like, oh, I remember that. That's this thing that I saw in Vegas or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what that is. It seems to like be more prominent now, especially like, you know, if they see like breaking in the Olympics, which is coming in like 4 years or whatever, they're going to see that again and go like, oh, wow, that's cool. I wonder what's up with that. And then, you know, I think more and more people get exposed to it. A certain percentage of them are going to be interested in it,
Mm-hmm.
interested in the I guess the deep underground scene of what it is, you know,
Mm-hmm.
get like deeply involved in it.
I hope it does, you know. I hope people actually think that they, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But as you know, like, you know, our generations, it's really hard to get deep into something.
Yeah,
That's kind of how I feel like, you know.
it is, and I think that's maybe because there's not a lot of resources to jump into it, right? Like, so if I went to a Vegas show and I saw you locking in, you know, in your in the Michael Jackson show, and I go, oh, that's cool. What is that? And then I go on to YouTube and I don't know what locking is, so I type in Michael Jackson dance. You're probably not going to find locking, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to probably find a lot of cool dancing and stuff. So I think if there's more resources out there so that when someone who does see that, like say at the Michael Jackson show, and then they do like some, you know, search, some, I'll call it naive search of what it is, they're able to find what the real stuff is. So when they type in Michael Jackson dance and then they see someone who goes like, oh, here's the dance that was in the Michael Jackson show, this is actually called locking.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. They see it. Oh, you know who else? Here's some history of locking. Here's Don Campbell Lock. Here's all these, you know, all these other people and stuff. And here's like some battles that happened a month ago. You know, here's a scene. Here's, you know, whatever. So it kind of pulls you down the rabbit hole. So I think maybe it's hard to get down the rabbit hole at the moment, but I think we're getting to that point though. It's happening, I think. You know, with the age of the internet, there's definitely resources on the internet.
Yeah.
But how easy they are to find, I don't know.
I think it's getting harder to find to me.
You do?
Yeah, because there are too many informations. And
Yeah.
there's not a lot of regulations of that, you know, like
there are a lot of people that'll go on there and say this is the real thing,
exactly.
and then they're like,
yeah,
this is locking, and it's like, I think that's just having a seizure.
But yeah, going back to that, I don't know, I can't really tell about how Cirque du Soleil influencing hip hop culture in general, but it's influencing hip hop dancers for sure.
Yeah.
It's opening a lot of doors. We're making good money with the great benefit. You know, it's literally hard, like impossible to get as a dancer.
Yeah.
Like having
and
a
it was
job.
unheard of 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was unheard of. Like it never happened before.
I mean, dance as a hip hop dancer was not any career you could do. It was a hobby.
Yeah,
but now it's a career.
And like, I mean, I'm not a big fan of 401k, but getting a 401k as a hip hop dancer, that's crazy to me.
Yeah,
like it's crazy, you know.
Yeah,
so,
that's
insane
because it's totally unheard of.
Yeah,
before now. Yeah,
so it definitely influencing hip hop dancers in very positive way. I'll say open a lot of doors, and you know, a lot of dreams. A lot of young people can like argue their parents, hey mom, I can make that much money with this hip hop thing.
Yeah, and I'm hoping the more and more hip hop dance gets into the forefront of the community, that it becomes more of a viable career. Beyond that, like I'd like to see it where hip hop dancers get recognized as like legitimate athletes.
Yes,
because that's what they are. I mean, I think they're more than just athletes, because it's obvious like the focus of it is the creatives behind it. So it's like they're artists and athletes and so much more. I mean, it's but yeah, the recognition is not quite there, and it's definitely not where it could be. So I'm excited to see breaking in the Olympics, because I think that's maybe a step in the right direction. Because like I look at it as if breaking is like skateboarding, which I think it is very similar. It's like it's a counterculture.
Yeah, I think that's the closest thing.
Yeah, skateboarding was just like, we got this board with wheels, and I figured out how to do these cool tricks with it. And then a bunch of other kids picked up a skateboard, and they started doing the same cool tricks. And then eventually people saw it and was like, oh, those are cool tricks, I want to see more of it. And then it spread around through little like VHS tapes, all around the country. And so more and more people were seeing it, and they're like, oh, cool, this is something cool. And then you get some like legit celebrities like Tony Hawk that kind of make it blow up, and they get the X Games and stuff, and that's kind of where he got a lot of his fame from. But they get the X Games, and so now it was on like a more public platform, so more people saw it, and it just blew up to the point where there's like video games and stuff. And I think breaking has the same kind of appeal to it.
Yes,
I think hip hop dance has the same kind of appeal to it. People see it and they'll go, that is really cool. I like watching it. I don't know what it is, but let's keep watching it. I want to see some competitions of it, And so then that's where like the Olympics comes in, or like the X Games or whatever. I mean, I don't know what that looks like in the future, but it seems like it's forming in that direction where it's not just some underground thing. It's more of a publicly respected art form, and competitive. Definitely. I mean, almost like a sport, I would say. I think it's very similar to skateboarding, and a lot of other extreme
X
sports.
Games, yeah.
And mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
You know, they both, I think all those things started out very like underground. It was just like a small community was into it, and then they all started like more and more people started getting involved in it, and I think the whole scene got themselves together to form like a sport, a legitimate sport, and I think that's what breaking is going towards right now, and I'm hoping the other hip hop dance styles start doing the same thing, and we see it emerge as like this legit sport. I know there's a big debate in the community, like is it okay that we call it a sport? Because it's an art form above everything, for sure. But in a way, it's different than an art form too.
Yeah.
Typical, like the way I look at art. I mean, art can be anything, but like if we were talking about painting, right? Nothing in the painting culture is like competitive, I would say. I mean, other than, oh, I want to, you know, get this grant or whatever to do this certain artwork. But like in hip hop dancing, there's always been this competitive nature to like battle somebody, right? And so in a way that does put it into a sport category too, because, you know, that I would say the difference between it is the competitive nature, right? Competitives is a sport, and then something that's not competitive is maybe more of an art form. Breaking sits somewhere in between that too, and so we don't want to lose the art form to become a sport. Yeah, but you gotta also admit that there's some sport qualities to it. So I'm interested to see where it ends up.
Yeah, I'm very interested. Like, I'm very interested in how they're gonna judge.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of B-boys on this podcast actually about how the judging is gonna go, because I mean, I don't know, we're at an hour right now. We could talk about this actually. So like, because when I look at it, the judging goes like this. Normally you have like 3 judges or 5 judges or whatever, and they watch this battle and they go, okay, I like that guy.
Yeah, it's a more personal.
Yeah, and it all comes down to like their subjective opinion about that. And so now when you go to like the Olympics or something, they're going to require some criteria. Yeah. So yeah, you as a judge, you voted that way, but why? And then you go, oh well, he showed more musicality, he showed more foundation, he showed more dynamics, whatever you want to say. And then they go, but how do you quantify that?
Exactly.
And then I think it all breaks down at that point. It's like, okay, well, I say his was better than his, but where did you, like, but what's how? The quantity? Yeah. But what? Like, so I gave this guy 5 points, I gave that guy 4 points for his, let's say, dynamics. Okay, but why? It all breaks down from there, because then you go, okay, well, he did this freeze a little bit sharper than that guy. And then you go, but this guy's freeze was different from his freeze. So you're comparing apples to oranges, right? And then you go, oh, okay, well, yeah, maybe his freeze was a little more difficult. His was sharper, but he also did it into this other move. And it's like, yeah, but you're still comparing apples to oranges. So everything breaks down at that point, because now it just goes to this, your subjective opinion about, about the dance, which I personally, I like that. That's a part of the judging, that you get these judges and they go, I like this more than this, just as a dancer, because it's fun for me to watch this compared to that. And so in judging, I don't want to lose that, but I also want to be able to quantify it so that it makes sense to other people that don't understand it. Yeah. And so on the Olympics platform, I don't know how you do that. And I've been talking to a lot of people, and I don't think anybody has really figured out a good way to do that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has figured it out.
Yeah.
You know?
And so the thing that I've been telling a lot of people that maybe is how you got to do it is you say, okay, well, we have we have this, let's call it bias. You know, each judge is going to have their own bias towards certain thing.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to what they like and what they don't like. We don't want to lose that aspect. So let's just say, okay, that counts as something, but we don't want to have one judge completely dictate it because they have this bias, because we're gonna embrace that there's a bias, but let's also get more judges to help weed out bad biases. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so my thought is that instead of 3 judges, instead of 5 judges, let's say you had 20 judges, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they all give their opinion. They're all from different areas, different eras or whatever. You know, they all have their different opinions about it. And the majority of them say this guy won over that guy won. I think that means something, especially when you look at where like breaking and hip hop dance started from. It started as like a competition between 2 people at like a dance party. And what were you trying to do? You were trying to outshine the guy you're going against.
Yep.
By showing off, essentially. And who are you showing off to? You're showing off to your opponent, obviously, but also to the crowd. You were trying to get a good crowd applause. So my thought is that if your crowd now is a lot of knowledgeable judges, you're staying true to the history of hip hop still, and you're not losing this important opinion and art, creative based judging, but you're also weeding out opinions that aren't the minority, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there's some more problems that come along with that. I don't know. There could easily be that, because, you know, I think there are legitimate parts of the dance that go as like an underdog kind of opinion, but they do matter. So a lot of those might not shoot up to the forefront of it. But I would say if you're pulling judges, a lot of judges from, you know, unique places in the dance, you're at least getting a good sample of everything that the culture has to offer, and then, you know, allowing that to choose the winner. I think maybe that's the most honest way to do it. I don't know if regular Olympics fan, or, you know, people who watch the Olympics that don't know hip hop would understand that.
That's my question too.
But I'm hoping that there's some way to like explain that to them, that the individuality, the creativeness inside this is very important. And that is why the judging system is set up in this way that's not as quantitative as other Olympic sports, such as like gymnastics or like, you know, whatever martial arts or basketball or whatever. So
yeah, that's ongoing discussion. We can talk about it all day long.
All day long, yeah. I mean, I've talked to so many people about it, and we're all kind of, we throw out our ideas and we don't really know what's going to happen, but I'm hoping that they have a good community of people that are contributing to what they're going to do for that. And I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah. I'm hoping that hip hop culture gets that recognition and publicity and respect from, like, you know, this word.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm a big fan of that becoming an Olympic category.
Yeah.
I don't, just to me, just personally. It's just too.
It seems out of place in the Olympics to me.
Exactly.
But I don't want to hate on it.
Yeah, I don't want to hate on it.
Because I think it's a good opportunity.
It is a great opportunity.
And it's showing me that the Olympics is growing into new things now, you know. I think breaking maybe makes more sense I mean, it's its own thing, but it seems more like something in the X Games to me.
Yeah.
But even that is different too. It's hard to place it where it is, but I'll take what we can get, to be honest.
Yeah.
And make it into something good, and maybe it does a couple years in the Olympics and then it goes somewhere else. But I think that it's a good opportunity to show that breaking and hip hop is ready for something on this scale, and the community welcomes it.
Yeah,
which I'm hoping the rest of the community does welcome it and doesn't just straight up hate on it. Which I think there's a lot of people that do hate.
There's
on
a lot of people hating on it. Yeah,
yeah, and I think they have good arguments for it.
Yeah, I definitely respect those opinions too,
because they're looking at it saying like, this is an underground thing. We don't want to like get rid of the underground rawness of it.
Yeah,
and I agree with that too, because like that's one of the main things that I love about it, is that, you know, what drew me into it was that this was something that you know, breaking and hip hop is just this counterculture of stuff. You know, in my life, everyone's telling me do this, do this, do this, and do this. And then I found breaking, and they were like, oh, you don't need to do that. What you just did is cool. How about you just go with that and just keep playing with that, and we'll see what happens with that. You know? So it was encouraged to just try different things, you know? So that's what brought me into it. 'Cause it was one of the only things in my life that you could just say, you know, fuck everything. This is me. I can do what I want here. And then, I don't know. There's not a lot of things I think in this world that you can do that with, but it's like definitely encouraged in the hip hop world to just say, yo, we like you, so put you into everything you do. You know? So anyways, I think we're hitting this hour and 15 minutes or so. Is there any last things you want to say? I think we talked a lot about some interesting things.
Yeah, we went definitely out of plan.
Hey, dude, there's no plan.
It's all
there's
good.
no plan for this.
But it was very interesting. Yeah, interesting conversation. I don't know if you are listening to this and you, like, I literally started, like, I never thought I would be an industry dancer. Yeah. I never thought I would qualify for that. But wherever you are, just working hard and do what you can do the best, always take you somewhere else than you think you can. So it definitely did that to me. So I would encourage those people who kind of doubt yourself. Yeah. Because that's really not it. I believe what you can dream of, you can actually accomplish those. So
it's all about believing in yourself and just, you know, having the vision for it, or maybe even not the full vision, but having something there and going and moving towards it. Yeah. You know, and even if you move a little bit away from it or take the step in the wrong direction, you know, this is not a race. This is a journey. So
it's your own.
So feel free to adventure around but you know, don't let the fear of it keep you from taking that step.
And be open-minded.
Be open-minded. Open-mindedness is important. I mean, that's what hip hop is embracing the open-mindedness of it. And I think every hip hopper would say, that hip hop is about being you. It's not about being this other guy. In fact, it's discouraged to try to be somebody else. It's that, you know, you're a biter, you know, you're a copier, you're a poser if you're doing that, right? We want to see what you are. So take your, you know, your own personality, put it into everything you do. And I think if you do that, then you are doing it correctly. You know, no matter what the result of it is, you're doing it right. That's the right way to do hip hop.
So, that's it.
Dope, man. Well, thank you for coming on here. I think this was a great conversation. Do you have anywhere people can reach you if they want to reach out? Like,
not yet.
got,
I kind of disappeared online because I was kind of big on like social media and on internet, but I kind of wanted to check if I could live without it, so I deleted.
Yeah,
I deleted all that, and I'm totally fine.
I feel you on that because social media and stuff gets crazy, and like about 5 years ago, I was the same way. I was just like, I gotta cut myself off of this.
Yeah.
And once I did, I didn't miss it at all. And the only thing I really use pretty often is Facebook because like my family and a lot of my friends are there, and so I can communicate with them. But I'm not on there getting involved in all the like discussions and stuff.
Yeah,
it's more like it's more like, you know, someone hits me up on there and says, hey, there's an event going on. Oh, cool. I'll see if I can go. That's about it.
That's about it for me right now, you know? So you can't really find me.
Well, I found you somehow.
Somehow.
And I'm glad you came because this was a great conversation. So thank you for coming, and thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
Camera just turned off, so it looks like it's done with this shit too. So see you guys later. Peace.